Morning to everybody on this lovely Wednesday where Spenny is our own personal band in the house.
Still not ska. That's okay.
No.
It's got a trumpet. It's ska.
Is that how that works? I don't think so. Danielle Radford in the house.
Good morning.
Good morning. Spenny G, practicing all the instruments. What's the best one?
Can I try a sad trombone?
Yes, you can.
No.
That's ska.
I'll work on that.
It's about as good as Yoda.
Amazing. Dan Murrell loves my Yoda more than anything because he agrees with me on everything on the planet.
Everything on the planet.
Guys, we have a lot to talk about today, and I'm excited because I think we have a Dan Murrell rant coming our way. I think. Fingers
Not a
crossed.
rant
Don't
so
force
much.
it.
Yeah.
You know, just let it happen. You know, let
be
him
chill.
come to you. Just
Be
hold your
chill.
palm out and hope that the Dan rant lands on your palm.
I don't know
Gotta
how.
sniff it first so that he measures it.
You've been working with me for a while now, Spenny. Have I ever let anything come onto my palm? Like I'm gonna move past it. I have to move past it because I don't know how to fix it. Okay, we're talking about Green Hornet today, guys, and some other stuff. MoviePass's parent company going bankrupt, which surprised all of us, right, Dan?
Shocker.
Yes, I'm just shocked. And Lethal Weapon 5, near and dear to a lot of our hearts. We'll be talking about whether that is moving forward. I have not been able to move forward yet, but I'm certainly going to try. Let's start with talking about this Amasia situation, because the production company Amasia Entertainment announced Wednesday, which is today, that it secured motion picture rights to the classic character, the Green Hornet. Everybody clamoring for some Green Hornet at the table? Woohoo! Yeah.
Seth
Okay.
Rogen got skinny for it, and people still didn't go see it.
Wow. I would really be very, very pissed if I did not eat very well for many months and then people didn't come see my movie. Like if I'm doing that, you better get your butts in the seat. Just saying. Guys, this company was co-founded in 2012 by former Marvel and Sony executive Michael Helfand and former CNN reporter Bradley Gallo, and they acquired the rights to the Green Hornet from the Trendle estate. The IP was last sold to Paramount Pictures and Churnin Entertainment in 2016 when it was announced plans to develop a new franchise directed by Gavin O'Connor. So it seems like that's no longer going to be what's happening. But what do you guys think about this in general? Do you guys think that this is something that could give a Marvel or DC a run for its money? Do you guys think that Green Hornet could have more success than maybe I'm even realizing right now? Danielle?
The Green Hornet is so like of its time. You know what I mean? Like, it's, a gentleman fighter with his Asian manservant. And there are definitely ways where you can try to, like, modernize the concept. But it is really, like, that is a 1960s-ass show. And so I would be interested to see how you would try to bring it in, bring it into the whatever decade we're in now. But I just don't... I don't know that... Yeah, I don't know if the kids are out there like, I'm waiting for my Green Hornet reboot.
No, it was the show that was on after Batman. I mean, the kids in the 60s, I guess. Yeah. I mean, most people, I think it's known because Bruce Lee was on it.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Like, it was the show they were doing when they're in that scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's there's no cachet to it that's going to, I mean, you have to make it's almost like an original IP in the sense that you just have to launch something. And they tried that. They tried with Seth Rogen and like Michelle Gondry, Christoph Waltz running around in there. And everyone's just kind of like, it's just another rich dude. He's got a bunch of gadgets. Like, I don't think it's so much about competing with Marvel or DC. It's just about the idea of just like, it's not a very compelling or interesting.
Do we need to darken it up?
Well,
right.
Do we need to like make it gritty?
I guess the only reason to look at it in comparison to Marvel and DC is that any kind of superhero or franchisee type movie, that is what they technically are. If we're saying the word compete, I guess that is the thing that they're in the category of right now, which is crazy that any kind of character like a Green Hornet has to be like, but could we be the next Marvel or DC type film? It's just too much pressure put on. Spenny, how are you feeling?
I mean, look, as far as the competing thing, the last studio to do it was Fox before they got absorbed into the Blob, and the way they did that was by being making the movies that Marvel and DC at the time wouldn't make, making Deadpools, making Logans, R-rated superhero movies. Now everyone's doing that too, you know? So, look, there's not enough good IP left that's up for grabs anymore, so No. The only thing that can compete with Marvel and DC is Father Time, and that comes for all of us. So I think that they will be on top as long as superhero movies are popular. I give it 10 years. Till then, no one else is going to touch them.
Well, there has been some success in the competition world on the little screen, on the silver screen. Silver's the one of the TV, right? No. What's the silver's the big one still? What's the little one?
The idiot box.
Green?
The boob tube.
It's got to have a
The
color.
small screen. They used to have the small
Cathode
screen.
rays, yeah.
Thank you, guys. So on the littler screen, the pink screen, who knows? Umbrella Academy, guys, that did pretty well. The Boys, which was, I think, one of the best shows of last year.
Great
really
show.
incredible. Do you guys think that these companies that are trying to do superhero or more franchisey type shows or properties should be looking to put it on the pink screen instead of going
Well, but The Boys,
Instead of
I
the
think, is a good example of, like, I don't think most people that watch The Boys or heard about The Boys identified it as a comic book property. It was sold as its own thing, and I think people connected it to it on that level. It wasn't like, oh, I need to see this adaptation of this comic book that I love. I'm sure some people did, but I think most people saw it as a TV show that got a lot of good buzz, and people found and discovered.
Yeah, they weren't like, who's going to play Mother's Milk? I need to know. Like,
Yeah.
They knew about it because it was in the superhero genre, but they weren't familiar with it before.
Yeah. So if you want to build the Green Hornet, I think that's what you have to do. You have to build it as you can't just rely on the name. You have to be like, what's special about this movie other than the fact that it's Green Hornet? Because it doesn't really have a lot. Just like The Boys, I'm sure a lot of people liked The Boys going in, but a lot more found it because it was a show that people enjoyed.
Do you think it would be better to develop a Green Hornet as a TV show, though, as opposed to a movie?
You just have to differentiate it from all the other rich dude with gadget shows out
Yeah.
there, which is tough. You've got, Arrow's wrapping up. He even wears green, too. And you've got lots of green. There's lots of green things, lots of green blanks. And
Yo, Arrow
goblins,
do you
green
guys
arrows.
know that Green Arrow had its finale last night?
Yeah.
Of the entire series.
Wow.
The entire 8 years. The finale was last night. Nobody's saying anything about it.
Nah, that was one of those ones that kind of petered out.
I took to Twitter. It wasn't trending.
Yeah.
That was very strange for me. Anyway, rest in peace, Flash and Friends.
Did the movie? Did the show end with him salmon laddering down?
Sadly.
Like,
We finally got to the top.
I wish he was like not in the episode much.
again? We
yeah.
talked about this? Okay, I don't
know.
watch Arrow, but last week you said
I know.
that like he was barely in the episode, and
I
then
know.
like the
They're
finale of the
trying to-
episode, Arrow also still not in the episode
He
much.
kind of had his big hurrah during the Crisis crossover.
Yeah, then they had
So-
these random 2 episodes afterwards where he was only in it for flashbacks and future forwards.
Yeah.
Flash forwards.
Yeah, there you go.
Boom.
That's odd. Okay.
The words today, guys, they're just coming so easily. Any other properties that you guys that are not Marvel, DC, but comic book or anything superhero-y that you guys really would like to see adapted now that we're talking about Green Hornet? Is there anything that you guys would like to see either make a comeback or make its appearance first time?
I mean, didn't Netflix acquire like all the Mark Miller stuff?
Yes, they're
Millerverse,
doing the
Yeah.
Millerverse.
I'm excited for that. I don't think any of them have actually happened yet, but I'd watch like an Invincible series or something like that.
I'd watch Invincible. I'm excited for what they do because they got very excited to buy all the Rob Liefeld stuff because they were like creator of Deadpool, and so he had like this big thing where they were like, we're gonna do the Rob Liefeld-verse, and I wish I could be in those meetings when they realized that he wasn't what made Deadpool cool.
Right.
Like it was all the writers that came after him that did all the Deadpool things.
It's all late
made a
90s
huge
Image Comics.
mistake.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I guess
am-
Bloodshot's kind of, I mean, that's Valiant, but that's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, is there going to be like the Netflix show and then the gold embossed Netflix show that costs $5 more?
It comes with a trading
The
card.
hologram and a trading card inside. Yeah, I think that the well has run dry as far as acquiring or adapting comic books.
Penny in your well.
Well,
Dan?
it would help to make things that are not Marvel and DC. Hellboy was overloaded, couldn't compete. Hellboy was, in my estimation, a really terrible film.
We agree on that, Dan Murrell.
Really awful. And again, it's not just me. It's the Cinema Score gave it a C. IMDb, it's like 5.2, 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like
is a
by
50 on Rotten Tomatoes?
50% by audience score. By many metrics, Hellboy was not a good film. So because we are in this boom, I think a lot of people are just like, well, get me a comic property, it'll do great. It's like, no, there's so much now that like you have to go that extra step and stand out. You've got to put some time and work and development into it, which I'm so far behind on TV, but that's what it seems like they've done with Watchmen, which was they didn't just ride on the Watchmen name. It seems like they actually brought something to it and said, but here's an interesting way to tell the story. And you've got to do that because
that does have the DC backing on it, though.
True, but I just mean in the sense of like,
but you're right,
it would have been easy just to do Watchmen and like, oh, people will watch it. It's Watchmen. They'll love it, but it's the idea of like, no, you got to go that extra step. So with Green Hornet or anything that's looking to quote unquote compete with Marvel and DC, it really, really helps to make a good movie or TV show first and foremost. That really is. I know it sounds counterproductive or obvious, but old-fashioned. But that really is. You see that a lot. You saw it with Transformers. You saw it with the 3D movies, which is like you can get away with spectacle and being one of the blanks for a while, but eventually people are going to catch on, and you've got to start making them good.
I agree. What do you guys think at home, though? Let us know if there is a property you really want to see me made, or if Green Hornet is just like really doing it for you right now. Curious your thoughts. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit that bell. Yeah. Good, because I ran out of breath. That was hard. And make sure all of that good stuff. We love hearing what you guys have to say. We also have other amazing content that's on the channel. There's going to be a Movie Fights live right after the Oscars, which is February 9th. Are you stoked for that one?
I think that's going to be super fun.
Yeah.
We'll be punchy.
We will be punchy.
Unofficial drunk movie fight.
That's true.
For some of us.
Actually, fair.
Not on purpose. It just happens.
It's a long show.
I kind of like that. Also, guys, we are pre-taped for tomorrow, but we'll be up at the normal time. But just so you guys know, it is a pre-tape. I'll be here for that. Some of you guys will be here for that?
Yeah, I'll be here for that.
We'll see.
I don't know. Just Roxy and Danielle.
Keep on rocking.
Just the two of us forever.
I'd watch that. Forget Birds of Prey. I'd watch that every day.
No, there is a Birds of Prey screening at this exact moment.
Is there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I never.
They're getting a scoop.
I said no because I want to do SJU today.
Oh, Roxy.
I love being here.
Could have
Yeah, you guys
Skyped
are
you
the
from
best.
inside the theater.
I didn't know about it.
Sorry. Thank you.
The hell? Come on. Really?
Yeah. But you would have chosen to be here anyway because SJU.
I'm really curious.
Yeah, I am curious too.
No, I would have.
I think we get some social media responses at 1:30 today. I think is when the social media embargo.
Come on, Ben.
Those are
always accurate.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Though.
Embargo drops 2 days before the movie comes out.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The embargo does drop.
I wish I did.
The other screening's next Tuesday. Let's make sure that you're there for that.
What?
All right, we got it.
Is there a mailing list I need to get on? Do I need to sign up for a newsletter?
I don't know.
Be Roxy's +1.
Hell yeah. Guys, never surrender like we don't in life. Never surrender. Have you heard of it? Because we've been talking about it on the show forever. If you have not watched it already, what are you doing? It doesn't say it here, but I'm assuming it's in the link in the description. Yeah. All right. Well, that's where you guys can find it. And guys, also for the entire month of January, we are sharing links in the description where you can donate to the Australian wildfires. So I know it's hard to figure out where you should support and where you should put your money. We're vetting the links and we're making sure that we put great links in the description below. So if you guys do want to support, I will say that the benefit that I did on this past Saturday has made almost $70,000 for the World Wildlife Foundation. So I'm really excited about that. So thank you. I know there were a lot of Screen Junkies fans that came in and helped support. So thank you guys so much for doing that. And now it's time for me to put my palms out and just chill, wait for Dan to have cool rants. Guys, we're talking about MoviePass. MoviePass's parent company filed for bankruptcy, something that none of us ever saw coming. Helios and Matheson Analytics, which owns the defunct MoviePass cinema subscription service, has filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy protection. Dan, this is something that comes as a massive surprise to you, as you have thought that MoviePass was killing it for a really long time now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this was the final blow to fall on this. This is the parent company. Well, first of all, it sucks because Helios and Matheson didn't just own MoviePass. They bought MoviePhone, which we know Gray Drake and others, Matt Etchity, who know personally work for MoviePhone, and I hope that the type of bankruptcy that they filed for Chapter 7, like Chapter 11 bankruptcy usually means like, hey, we want to reorganize and try to come back. Yeah. Chapter 7 means we have no money and we want to liquidate everything. So hopefully MoviePhone finds a home, much like many of our friends did with the whole Defy situation. They found other homes.
Is there numbers between 7 and 11?
That's a good question. Like, what's the Chapter 9 bankruptcy?
Yeah.
You said there are?
There are.
Oh yeah, Danielle, you know this. You're a legal person.
There's all the numbers, but it's this one I will say bankruptcy law is not one that I am super up on, because typically we just get those when it would be like someone's filing for divorce and they're like, I declared bankruptcy though, so skiddly-doo, and they just like skadoots out of town. That's usually when we get those.
Do you know a little bit about bankruptcy law though?
The tiniest bit.
Then you know way more than any of us.
Then for sure you definitely know more than I do.
Yeah.
We've been passed a note. Wow.
I'll read it and then tell you guys about it in due time. Dan, keep talking.
Okay. So the parent company MoviePass, it basically means they're done. They're out. They're no more. Helios and Matheson, which we've talked about since they bought MoviePass. But this guy, I want to talk about Ted Farnsworth.
All right.
We've spoken his name a lot on this show. Ted Farnsworth, who's the chairman and CEO, took over with MoviePass and Helios and Matheson. You know how many companies he's driven down? Because the stock for Helios and Matheson is now officially at 0.
No, tell me, how many?
You know how many publicly traded companies he's been involved with that have gone from trading stock to 0?
2?
3.
Wow.
This is now 4.
Like the cooler.
Four companies that he's had a hand in driving down to 0 cents, which means dead. I was doing some research. I read an article that back in like 2017 that he'd registered 50 companies in Florida that like he founded. Do you know how many of them were active when they wrote that article? 4.
Yikes.
4 out of 50 were active, and so this was all, by the way, before he was hired to run MoviePass and Helios and Matheson. Do you know how much money he got paid in 2017 after all that? $8.9 million.
Wow.
That's how that system works.
Yeah. Very cool. Very legal.
I often talk about how I don't understand how like Netflix works with like debt and stuff, but what I don't understand is like, particularly in the tech sector, is like, how do you like kill 3 companies and then they're like, I would like to pay you $8 million to do it again. I don't like, what, how does it, and it's like, he's been like sued.
What is our legitimate guess for that? Like, why would they keep hiring this person then?
I don't know.
They failing up. You have the experience.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't most tech things fail? So it's like,
but like, if I'm a NASCAR driver and you give me 3 different cars and I steer all 3 of those cars into the wall and total them, and then put the company who's on the hood of the car out of business. At some point, wouldn't somebody? Sure, it does. For this metaphor, it does. At some point, or I embarrass Tide
by eating too many of their pods.
Yes,
delicious pods.
At some point, wouldn't you stop hiring me to drive a car?
I would.
Right?
But also, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. What do I know? I mean, I don't know. I'm with you. I also don't understand the Netflix in debt thing.
People were just trying to educate.
Yeah, I know. I don't really get it.
I'm dumb. That's fine.
Benny, how are you feeling about all of this, though?
Get that money, Ted. You get that
you're
money.
Team
You
Ted.
hide it in your shell companies, and you ride this out till it blows up in your face.
Yeah, but other people lose all of their money.
Yep.
Like, that's the thing. Is like, you do a thing that loses many people their money, but then you get paid a bunch of it.
Mm-hmm. It's the year of the scammer, Dan. You know, the Gravel Voice Girl, Fire Festival.
Yep.
You know, everyone's just the problem is we need a scam, and not Screen Junkies Plus.
Oh,
we
are
need
you
a better
talking
one.
about the girl?
If that was a scam, that was a terrible scam.
That was a terrible
The
scam.
finger prick girl. That was a great scam.
Theranos, yeah.
Just with 1 drop of blood.
Give me your blood.
You can test over 450 different kinds of diseases.
Whose voice are you doing?
Her voice.
what's her
That's what
name?
she
Yeah.
sounds like. Really? Yeah, no. She puts on on this really deep voice so that people would take her seriously.
That was her Steve Jobs imitation.
Like she's been like exorcised, or what is it when you need an exorcism?
Possessed, yeah.
By the devil.
What's it when you need possessed? What are you thinking, Danielle? How are you feeling about all
well,
this?
I'm spring cleaning. I'm condoing because we're getting to that point of the year. I found my MoviePass card. I think I'm going to enshrine it.
I'm framed. I found out when we moved, we found mine. I'm framing them.
Do it, yeah. I think I'm going to as well. Like I want to remember that moment.
I couldn't find it.
It's a beautiful moment. It did start. It's like anything. It's like all these companies that start something like that wasn't inspires other people to go and do it better. That's what that was. And I'm sorry for all the people losing their jobs and all the people losing money. I did not lose my card though, so yippee.
Yeah. But shouldn't the guy that's like in charge like
Nope.
shouldn't something happen to like you
mean legally
or no, just like not get hired again, or like give somebody the money to help people, or like how is this seems illegal? How is this legal?
Because some of his
Playing with the house's money, I guess.
well, that's why you form a company. You form a company that way your personal money stays your personal money, and it's the company that owns that.
Form 50 companies.
Form 50 companies. Yep.
You don't even have to pay taxes.
What's with the other 46 companies that are not active though? What are they doing?
Nothing.
Shelling for other ones, like you just kind of, where's the money? Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Now it's over here. Now it's over there. Whoop, whoa.
But
It's like Russian dolls.
what is the company though? Like what are they?
Whatever you want it to be, Roxy.
I don't get.
But like the guy,
I don't get it.
This guy, like he's filed like before he got the job, like he'd filed for bankruptcy. He'd been sued a lot of times for like like investors saying like you stole my money. Like again, I'm not saying he did. I'm saying they say said he did. Don't. Please, there's nothing to get. Like I said, 3 companies that he've been involved with have gone from like publicly traded to 0 cents. Like, why would?
Because all those companies were entrusted to Chloe, the director of Barbie. So if anyone's going down, it's that.
Why do you keep hiring the person? I don't understand. This is baffling to me. And it's not just him. It seems to happen all over the place.
Maybe he's really charming.
He'd have to be good in a room.
Well, we know that Mitch Lowe was apparently great in a room, because Billy and Roth, and I wish that I could have been charmed by him. I'm not saying that if I were in that interview, he would have charmed me too. I promise you. But like apparently they were great in the room. But but like I just don't understand. Like how does this keep happening?
I don't know.
Bizarre.
I don't know. But here's what I do understand, guys, that anything Joe Starr tells me is happening, and he says there's a new goal for the chat today. So I do want to let them know. We want to get to 300 likes. How many are we at right now?
160.
We're at 160, so we got to get 140 more at least. And then I have to freestyle roast the panel. I'm so bad
Don't get fired,
at it.
Roxy.
Oh, God. No. But the freestyle roast doesn't happen until next week, right? Because the likes are for this week, then the roast.
Yeah, we'll make you on the pre-tape or something.
Yeah, okay. So make sure that you guys, if you want to hear me make a jerk of myself and
Don't force Roxy to
piss off everyone around us.
That seems cruel.
Guys, I'm gonna be so good.
You're gonna be so good.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it in Yoda voice too. Yo.
Ask for that in the chat.
Yoda voice. This,
I respect listening to the fans, but it's not a. Come on, we gotta set some limits for ourselves, right?
I have no shame. All right, let's talk about a property that has no shame. Lethal Weapon, guys. Lethal Weapon 5. I don't know what that transition was. It's on its way, says producer. This is via to her, as Joe Starr likes to say, roundtable. Lethal Weapon 5 has been announced and then unannounced as recently as 2018. However, during a THR roundtable discussion, producer Dan Lin insisted that the 5th entry in the series would indeed happen at some point. Here's the quote, "We're trying to make the last Lethal Weapon movie, and Dick Donner's coming back. The original cast is coming back, and it's just amazing. The story itself is very personal to him. Mel and Danny are ready to go, so it's about the script." End quote. In 2018, director Richard Donner said that while all elements were in place to make the film happen, behind the scenes, issues kept getting in the way. He said, quote, "I'm ready to do 5. It's called Lethal Finale. It's very dark, and we were all set to go, and now Warner Brothers is doing their old-fashioned tricks. What? Not Warner Brothers. There's this guy who runs the studio who's great, but they have these people in the legal department who do the negotiating in the most counterproductive way. They should be sent to a studio and work with the producers and directors and actors and learn what makes a film and then negotiate.
Joe Biden.
But it's just embarrassing.
No, because he's not touching you.
And I tell you what, you go down there, those pals, fella, they don't know what's happening.
He says, I wanted to end it on an emotional note, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh.
End quote.
That was a journey.
Wow.
So that was in 202018.
No, not Warner Brothers. This guy.
This guy,
and I
'Cause
tell you
Brothers
what,
Talking
back
was
in
like, oh,
Dover,
no, yeah.
tells you get 5 for a quarter, but
I guess just based off initial thoughts on this, are we going to get a Lethal Weapon 5?
doesn't sound like it.
Lethal Weapon 5.
Someone's gonna have to take
ever?
him home.
Yeah, but maybe like years down the line. You don't think at any point, Danielle?
Look, knees are a thing. And and Lethal Weapon has a lot of running.
There's no cartilage left between those kneecaps.
And no one expects Mr. Glover to run, but we expect some running from Mr. Gibson, and I don't know if he has the running left in him.
I will say,
I think he runs from lots of things.
yeah.
Well, that's mentally. We're talking physically.
Yeah, or has in the past.
Yeah.
He was really good in the racist cop movie last year, Dragged Across Concrete. He's
What
still,
is Dragged Across Concrete?
It's from Craig Zoller. He made Bone Tomahawk and Brawl in Cell Block 99, and you hear on its surface Mel Gibson playing a racist cop. A match made in heaven.
That's probably why I don't know it.
The movie is not in any way glorifying that. So. Far be it for me to say
you
go
were
support
calling
Mel
it
Gibson.
the racist cop movie. It is a
movie about
a
Mel
racist
Gibson
cop.
and Vince
Got it.
Vaughn playing 2 racist cops.
I get it.
Now, the movie is not on their side, so, make up your own mind whether that sounds interesting to you. But it is a very intense and demands some physical action of him that he still can. He's defying time, spitting in the face of God in many ways, and he's wiry and still got that old man strength.
Dan, are we seeing this movie?
I mean, it sounds like, even Dan Lin said it's about the script, which means they don't seemingly have one, which that is what held up Ghostbusters 3 was about the script for 25 years.
Right.
So it's I would lean toward no. Only because you have to get everyone to sign off on a script. It sounds like Richard Donner and the studio, at least in the past, have been very at odds about what to do. Richard Donner, too, he's not directed a film in 14, 15 years. I think the last one was that I just looked it up, the Bruce Willis 16 blocks. So not that you lose it, but it's just to get back in that mode and to get back in gear, there's a lot that still has to happen.
Can I ask you
It's
guys?
very dark.
Yeah, that's okay.
Before was silly.
So can we break
Wasn't
down?
there a jetpack or something?
No, there was a Jet Li.
No, I know, but wasn't there somebody that was head flying around on fire or something? I don't know. I don't remember.
This first Dan Lin quote, I kind of want to break down because I'm a little confused when he says the Dick Donner's coming back, the original cast is coming back, and it's just amazing, and then goes on to say, so it's about the script, implying that the script isn't ready. So what's amazing?
I'm sure they've thrown around a concept, an idea of what they want to do, and everyone's agreed to it in principle, but that's the easy part. Now the hard part is getting a script that everyone likes, and then you go to the studio, and then the thing about Richard Donner is he's right. You have to go through 18 million levels of negotiation, and even what were we talking about? Was it Joker, where they said that they basically had to pitch it twice because they got through all the rounds of approval and all the rounds of getting it greenlit, and then everything at the studio changed, and they had to go back to the top and get it all reapproved.
And this is also Warner Brothers.
And this is Warner Brothers. They're gonna be them. So I do not. God, producers. When people ask, I do not envy producers one bit because the process of getting a movie made is so sloppy and long and just torturous.
Subject to the whims of these conglomerates that just fire and replace people. Somebody at that studio has to champion your movie and take it through, and then they'll just get reassigned, they'll change jobs, they'll change studios, and then, I guess your movie's dead now after
So
years of working on it.
Spenny, let's talk about the person at the studio, because Richard Donner in 2018
This little twerp, I'll tell you
says,
what.
There's this guy, okay? There's this guy who runs the studio, who's great, but they have these people in the legal department who do the negotiating. So, any thoughts on like who exactly he's what you guys think happened?
Money.
Yeah, it's
I
money.
think that's money.
My
guy.
guess is that, look, a Lethal Weapon 5 coming out now is not the same as a Lethal Weapon 5 coming out 10, 15, 20 years. It's just not. And so if you're asking for the same kind of money for a Mel Gibson now that a Mel Gibson would have gotten then, that's not going to happen. And I think it's the same for almost everyone involved. Like, it's still, it's a franchise. People are going to go see it for sure. But like them getting the whole band back together, that's like, it's for people who are like our age or like maybe older. Like, kids don't care that Mel Gibson's coming back for this, and they mostly know him for the racisty stuff. And so that could also, I'm not saying I know that is a problem, but if that is one of the things where it's like people are like, hey, but it's all of us coming back together, isn't that exciting? And another person is going, well, I'm also weighing it on your Q score. That could be something as well.
Yeah, they do some back of the napkin math where they're like, we think this movie will make $60 million. Your script, there's so many jetpacks in here. It looks like this would cost $100 million to make. We'll give you $10 million to make this movie. Go figure it out.
$10 million to make a Lethal Weapon.
I don't know.
I would actually kind of like that. But you know what could be the game changer, though, that could actually get the wheels moving on this is Bad Boys for Life.
Right.
Because it's doing extremely well.
Yep.
And by the way, I'm not saying that this is Hollywood logic. This is not actual logic.
Yeah.
Actual logic would dictate that Bad Boys for Life doing well, other than it's an older action franchise, has very
no
little
effect.
in common to do with the Lethal Weapon. But that's not how Hollywood works. It's like a 1-to-1 ratio with Hollywood, and they're like, action good, go, action good too.
Old buddy cop franchises, do it.
So that may actually get kind of grease the tracks a little bit, because they've seen that audiences will turn out for an older action franchise that's been dormant for a while. But again, I'm not saying that's going to mean it'll succeed, but it could get people talking, and it could give Richard Donner and people some leverage and maybe get a fire under some butts to get a script right. But there's many steps
Lethal
left.
Weapon 4 was, I'm too old for this.
Hasn't that been the premise of every Lethal Weapon movie?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It's like, I wonder if I even want this.
I'm really too old for this now.
This time.
Like, actually,
old.
I'm
Genuinely.
actually too old
I
for
mean
this.
it, guys. Really too old.
I was speaking metaphorically earlier, but now I'm really chronologically too old for this.
I want to.
Everything cracks when I get out of bed, guys. It's not. I have to stretch before I get in the car.
Did they get Pesci back?
Lethal Finale? What do
I
you
want to
guys-
see an interrogation scene that heavily involves one of their colostomy bags.
What do you guys feel about, like, is any emotion evoked from you when you hear Lethal Finale?
There's a good movie in there somewhere. Because, Danny Glover and Mel Gibson brought a lot to those characters. And so there's definitely a possibility for a good movie, but it's there's just a lot of obstacles, too, to that.
Yeah. It'd have to be substantially different from the takes that came before. I don't think you can do just another Lethal Weapon movie with two septuagenarians. But
Wouldn't they have been forced into retirement long ago?
you're so old you wouldn't be cops anymore.
And if they're both about to retire, then they both die, because that's how these cop movies are. It's like,
Finale.
they were both one day away from retirement. Okay,
You've got it?
that I will watch. They're both one day away from retirement, and like all the criminals, it's like a John Wick thing. All the criminals in the city conspire to see who can take out Riggs and Murtaugh one day away from retirement.
Are you
That
giving
I
them
would
permission
watch.
to use that?
yes.
Copyright me.
Oh.
Warner Brothers, call me.
I'm bummed because I was going to transition us out of here by saying Lethal Finale. This is the SJU finale of the day. But
go.
then you guys talked about what a finale means, that everybody leaves and dies. So I don't want to say that anymore.
Well,
so instead I'll say we'll see you guys tomorrow on that pre-tape. Danielle, in the meantime, where can everybody keep up with you?
Oh, here. I'm just always here. I'm sorry. I'm
Well, it's a better response than what Spenny's about to say. Spenny, how can the people find you?
Okay, so you go down to the harbor, right? A lot of people leave the keys to their boat in them.
Right.
Just unmoor it, take off the anchor, and just drift out to sea. The tides should take you, 20 nautical miles down the coast or so before you're beached. And then at that point, hitchhike your way back. I think about, 5 days will have passed, and I'll be back here on SJU.
Bring a snack.
Bring a snack.
Just don't get caught. Dan?
Yeah.
Anywhere that they can keep up with you?
Out at sea. Bring your laptop at sea, and
We
then
should start a pirate radio station.
Ooh, go to international waters.
Yeah.
I'm all about that.
Kind of cool. Ryan, I'm checking in with you. How'd we do on the likes department? They hit it. Oh, good. So I guess you can find me making a jerk of myself, roasting the people on the panel very soon. We'll see you guys tomorrow for that pre-tape.
Bye-bye.
Oh, boy.